Lester on your left, Zan on your right. Uppal will be the number 1 seed. He started this tournament off 9-0, able to draw in the last round, lock up the number 1 seed. That means he's got the option to play first in all of the rounds, assuming he's able to make it past this one here with the Jund Monsters deck.
And Zan is a regular face that I've seen in the Southern Magic Opens. I believe that I actually played him in a draft challenge a few years back as well. So he is definitely a name and face that I recognize.
Again, Jund Monsters, a deck that Kent Ketter used to be the number 1 seed last weekend in St. Louis. Uppal playing a very similar deck list to him. Only changes in the sideboard, cut 2 Gruul Charms, added an additional Ultimate Price and an additional Legaria Charm. That's it. So very happy with the configuration thus far for Justin. For Red-White Devotion, I mean, nothing too crazy going on here. I guess the most notable card that we haven't seen a lot of is Legion's Initiative, a card I think you played at Pro Tour Dragons, Maze, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually did not. Josh Layton played it in his build of Boros. We worked on that deck together. Josh did most of the heavy lifting, as he is a master. And he changed a couple cards around at the last minute into Legion's Initiative, primarily to help against Esper.
Okay.
He just wanted to have more things that he could put on the board that weren't swept away by a Supreme Verdict.
See, had you played Legion Initiative, you would have top 8 the Pro Tour like Josh.
Oh, it doesn't quite work that way.
Oh, that's stupid. It should work that way. It'd be a lot easier game if
I've
it
also
worked
had
that
to
way.
be much better than I am.
Oh.
Because Josh, again, is a master.
Well, I guess former player of the year and all.
Yeah.
So you see Uppal's going to take a mulligan here, at least to 6. We'll see if he goes down any further. And don't forget, after this game, we'll come back to the booth. Patrick will have a question for you guys for 3 months of premium, so make sure you do have those Twitters ready. We'll announce the win for conclusion of the round, as well as keep up with all other matches. Once we do have results, we'll, of course, let you guys know. David Jones versus David Vo. Red deck wins, if you like to call it that. A little old-school approach versus Esper Control. You got Nicholas Arstead playing Orzhov Midrange against Chris Sanchez playing Naya Hexproof. And then Ryan Steiner playing Orzhov against Bernardo Fonseca playing Mono Black Devotion.
And this is a place where the Black Splash might be very helpful for Uppal, as a card that doesn't get played a ton in Standard, but is pretty annoying for green-red monsters in my experience, is Boros Reckoner.
Yep.
It's actually a fairly annoying blocker. It's good against Mizium Mortars, good against Pelukrinos, and so having access to cards like Dreadport can be valuable here as well.
It can be a frustrating card with all your big dum-dums running in and then likely dying, or you just take a bunch to the face.
Yep.
Uppal going to lay out 6 cards here. We'll see if he finds a hand he can like, excuse me. Looks like he's happy. Let's start our quarterfinals, shall we? With a Temple of Malice. Going to put that top card to the bottom, pass it back over to Syed. He's going to play a Boros Guildgate, pass it over. Uppal take a draw. See if he has mana acceleration or green mana. Both are important. There's your forest. That's step 1. Let's see if he has step 2. And he does. Sylvan Caryatid. Good start here for the Jund Monsters player.
Very solid mulligan so far.
Syed with a forest. There's Legion's Initiative. You see Uppal's taking a look. We're going to do the same. Red creatures you control get +1/+0. White creatures you control get +0/+1. And then all this exile stuff, basically saving it from a Wrath of God or Missing Mortars.
Yeah, it's also a way to reset Fanatic of Mogus if the game drags out.
Oh, I missed that one.
Oh, yeah.
I like it, actually, quite a bit. Let's see if that can happen. Everything else has happened today on camera that we've hoped for.
We've seen some weird stuff.
Uppal. Looks like you may see a Courser or a Domri here. Let's see what he's going to play. There is a Domri. So Elevator will be moving up here shortly. Going to go up to 4. Take a look at the top card, Will Uppal. There's a Pelukrinos. This is a Stomping Ground tap, pass the turn back.
And this looks like a great start for Uppal, but it's important not to underestimate how explosive red Devotion decks are capable of being.
Now, even though this is a red Devotion deck, it's a little bit of a different take because he only has 1 copy of Nykthos. So he's a little bit in between. You know, we classified as Devotion because Fanatic of Mogus is hanging out, obviously. But there's a lot of different things going on here. Main deck Anger of the Gods. You know, some odd numbers on 3 copies of Perforos, which is a Devotion card, of course, and then 2 copies of Stormbreath Dragon. So some different numbers here for Syed, but it's obviously been working.
Yep. We've seen a lot of Devotion-style, both red and green decks so far on camera this weekend. De-emphasize the all-in nature of the Nykthos sort of strategy. We saw Chris Fennell, he did not have a good tournament, but he wasn't playing Burning Tree Emissary at all. And then you see Zan here, who's cut a lot of Nykthos out of the deck, as you just mentioned.
You see, Zan has a Boros Guildgate in his hand. He also has a copy of Hammer of Perforos, and it looks like he's deciding if he wants to cast Hammer now or take the turn off, because those are obviously the only 2 lands that he has in his hand. So the decision has to be made of, okay, if I think I'm going to peel a land, this actually works out pretty great, as there's the Hammer. He's going to pass the turn back. So Uppal, he'll untap. He will take a draw.
And this is what I'm talking about. For as good as Uppal's start is here, you know, he has a Dombre. We know that he has a Pile of Chronos in his hand, all that kind of stuff. He does need to get the ball rolling here because Zan is setting up quite a powerful shot.
Uppal does miss with Domri this go around. Could be removal spell. Higher chance of it being a land more than anything else. Uppal going to play Courser. This makes it seem like it's almost certainly going to be a land, as there's Overgrown Tomb. Stormbreath Dragon on top of the deck. Again, Uppal could have cast Pulachronos that turn, chose not to.
Yeah. And I get to some extent, you know, Zan does have Chain of the Rocks in his list, so that's a pretty, not a great use of the turn, but, you know, again, I cannot stress enough how important it is for Justin to start attacking Zan as soon as possible.
Suzanne has a couple copies of Fanatic of Mogus in his hand. There's the Boros Guildgate. So if he peeled the land, again, this works out great. And if he didn't, it's a little bit awkward. It doesn't look like he did. So it looks like Boros Guildgate's coming in. He might have to take the turn off here. Both players pretty slow out of the gate. I mean, Uppal's start is obviously quite good. But, you know, not the really aggressive start that we see from Monsters.
Yeah. It almost feels like Zan has to just cast this Anger of the Gods right now because the rest of his mana is accounted for a very long time. Perforos and 2 copies of Fanatic of Mogus in his hand. It's hard for me to imagine he's really going to want to take a turn off casting Anger of the Gods any later in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the most enjoyable exchange, taking care of a Sylvan Caryatid, especially when you know your opponent can still cast the Pulachronos that's in their hand. But again, he's not going to have time to cast it any other time. So I am definitely with you here as Uppal draws Stormbreath Dragon, of course. Temple of Abandon is the card on top of his deck. He's going to play that and scry, moving himself up to 22. There's the card he'll be looking at, which is Reaper of the Wilds. Certainly incentivized to keep that on top of his deck when Domri's there.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat interactions involving scry and Courser. Sometimes Chandra Pyromancer is also involved in this equation, allowing decks like green, red monsters and Jund monsters to engineer their draw steps quite a bit.
Uppal going to come across for 2. He's going to put Syed down a little bit lower to 18, and now here comes Pulachronos World Eater. Syed untaps his lone Boros Guildgate after casting Anger of the Gods last turn. Sacred Foundry the draw. He's got some serious catching up to do now.
He is also, remember again, Stormbreath Dragon, he's aware of in Justin's hand.
Yep. If you're rooting for Syed here, don't forget, those creatures have haste. And they also get a little bit bigger because of Legion's initiative. So right now, if you were to cast Fanatic of Mogus, for example, we're looking at a 4-point hit just because of Devotion. The creature does have haste, and it's 5 power.
Yeah.
So it can trade with Pulachronos, potentially.
Or just attack in.
Yeah.
You could take a moment, look around, see if there's a set of keys.
He's behind, but it's it can catch up quick.
Yes.
Please bring them up to the stage.
He's also got a copy of Perforos that he can cast this turn as well, but that would effectively be taking the turn off again. So that's a little bit dangerous to me if he were to take that line.
Yeah, I like getting Perforos out here if you actually had Devotion of 5 this turn.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Zan can afford to take yet another turn setting up.
So here is Fanatic. Devotion count is 4, of course. Uppal is going to take 4, go down to 18. Assuming that it wants to go there and not to Domri. I think that is actually a valid question, but he is going to take 4.
Yeah, I just don't think this game is going to go on for long enough turns for Zan to be able to effectively fight over Domri. I think he just has to ignore it and go right at Justin.
Here comes an attack. Or see where it's going, if it's a Planeswalker or not, and it is Domri, so that's going to go down to 1 counter. There's Sacred Foundry tapped and passing the turn back. So Uppal will take a draw here. Sylvan Caryatid will be going to the hand shortly. Let's see what his top card is. That's a Elysium Mortars. That'll be the draw step for next turn. Domri, of course, going to go up. Card will not go to hand, but it can threaten to fight next turn.
And right now, I think the biggest priority for Justin is to try to figure out how to turn this into a 2-turn game.
Yep.
He does not want to give Zan 2 extra turns here.
It's very appealing to want to activate Monstrosity, take care of that Fanatic of Mogus. And then your Pulachronos is a 7/7. Along with the Courser, that's an attack for 9. That'll put Syed in that sweet spot of having it be 2 turns, as you did mention. And I agree with you. He wants to shorten this game as fast as he can. So let's see what Uppal wants to do. Because, of course, he does have Stormbreath Dragon in his hand as well, and that's a very appealing card to want to cast given the situation.
Yeah, the concern with... I actually like Justin casting Stormbreath Dragon here instead. The concern is if he spends his turn Monstrosity on Pulachronos, then Chain to the Rock is a disaster.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of wind out of his sails. And then we're looking at giving Zan an additional turn.
So he's going to draw a card. Let's see what he finds. Now, Legion's Initiative, you mentioned exile creatures you control at the beginning of the next combat. Return those creatures to the battlefield. So if he were to have a 6th land, cast Fanatic...
It would be a trigger for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an attack for 10 is 15, and then Legion Initiative would kill him on the reset.
Excellent. But at the beginning of the next combat, they come back. So the next combat would be Uppal's combat, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if it's a 6th land that comes into play on tap, then you... Oh, my. You see, he drew a land for the turn, but it's a Boros Guildgate. So Legion's Initiative was a card that initially looked a little bit strange to me to see in this deck list, but had this been on tap land, Legion's Initiative would be the reason that Syed could actually win this game.
Yeah, again, the combo with Fanatic and Mogus is a real thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so much damage. And I think Zan's kind of coming to the same conclusion that, you know, if that were an untapped land, I actually steal this game away from Uppal.
And it calls into question, you know, is Justin possibly supposed to leave Courser back on defense last turn as a little bit of insurance?
Yeah. You know, in part, you know, the reason that I liked actually killing Fanatic is, again, just because it's one less card for Devotion for potential, you know, other Fanatics, things of that nature, with Pulachronos on the previous turn. Doesn't mean that, you know, my play is right. I just, whenever I'm playing a Red-White Devotion, it's just, all right, just get as stupid creatures off the board as fast as you can. Leave the Devotion count as low as you can. Even if it's a card like Ash Zealot, you know, the 2 red Devotion that card provides is crucial to their deck.
Yeah, you're playing risk in other places. You know, it's just if Zan saws Chain the Rocks that turn, it's a lot worse for you to have used Pulachronos that way. But in the event that he doesn't, it's much better to do the play that you described.
Yeah. But as you guys can see at home, the hand here for Zan, he's got another copy of Legion's Initiative, a Fanatic of Mogus, and a Pulachronos. I don't think the pieces add up appropriately to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean, he has the ability to make a token with Hammer Perforos and use Legion Initiative or cast one of his 4-mana spells.
Here comes Fanatic. It looks like that's going to the Dome. Not going to bother taking out Domri this time. Let's see what the follow play is here. Looks like it'll be the Initiative. It'll come back, Dome for a little bit, be on blocking duty. I am fascinated by Legion Initiative in this deck.
It is a cool synergy with a lot of the stuff that's going on here.
Yeah. You definitely can tell Zan has used this to great effect over the course of the day, and I'm sure he knows all the interactions with it. Because it's a really weird card. You know, we don't see a card very often, like a blink effect that says, you know, something comes back at the beginning of the next combat, and all those creatures are granted haste too. It's very, very strange.
And I like this play from Zan as well, as it basically avoids the Mizzium Mortars they knows that Justin's drawing altogether. He has the Fanatic coming back to block. He also has a Hammer token that he can make at instant speed.
There's a Stomping Ground off the top there for Uppal, so he's going to put that into play untapped. This allows him to represent Monstrosity on both of his creatures for a large amount. And that top card of his deck should be revealed due to the Courser, so you want to make sure that happens. And of course, Zan says, at the beginning of combat, of course, my trigger is going to happen. Top card for Uppal is another copy of Courser. But Legion Initiative trigger takes place. Fanatic comes in. 3 will be dealt to Uppal or Domri here. Looks like it's going to go straight to Uppal, push him down to 10.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Zan has anything in his list here to stop what's flying over.
Yep. Everybody's coming in. Zan is probably going to be forced to to make a token. But of course, you know, the good thing about having access to deck list, obviously, is that you know that Zan doesn't have anything here in the situation, assuming that Justin is reviewed appropriately, and he can safely monstrosity his Stormbreath Dragon and clean up this first game, it looks like. I see Justin point towards Stormbreath Dragon saying, yep, I'm going to finish you off in a minute if you let me. See how much damage is being dealt here. Life totals are being, make sure they're good to go, which is 10.
The assorted number 2 came into my headset. So I'm not sure what the cause for pause is.
Okay, here's your blocker. There's your blocker. And Uppal still pointing at the dragon, just saying, I think I'm going to activate Monstrosity and kill you. Yeah, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So, all right, that's going to do it for this game. So Justin Uppal is going to win game number 1. You see him kind of shrugging here, and it's like, yeah, I've. So yeah, we're good to go.
That's one of those things where, you know, one player says, I'm doing this, the other says, okay. The other guy goes, okay, are you dead? And the other guy goes, okay, are you doing it? And
yeah, sure.
You know, the judge just asking for clarification there.
So either way, Justin Uppal does win game number 1 here over Zan Syed. We're going to bring it back to the booth here as it is a premium giveaway time, my friends. So, as usual, Patrick is going to have a question for you. I'm sure you're excited to ask this. You got a good one?
I do have a good one, actually.
Sure?
There could really only be one question, right?
For right now?
Yeah, for this match.
Okay. All right, if you say so.
Name the weird, unorthodox gold enchantment in Zan Syed's Red-White Devotion list.
All right, you know the answer. Hashtag SCG Premium on Twitter. Make sure you're following at SCG Live as well. Of course, we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round. And it's about accuracy, not speed, because we got a lot of time left to go in the quarterfinals.
Right, so just answer the question. You know, it doesn't matter who answers first. We draw one at random, so don't stress if you're not the first one to answer.
Of the people who get it correct.
Yeah, it has to actually be correct. We won't just take anything.
Okay. So don't go put Goblin Trenches down, because that's not right. All right.
But it should be right.
That was a great card.
It was sweet.
Great Magic card. Even though it's way before my time, and I was way too stupid to play that deck.
It was prevalent in the first PTQ format where I won a PTQ.
Did you win it with Goblin Trenches?
No, I did not.
Did you win it with a red deck?
Sort of. It was blue-green, splash red.
For Flame Tongue?
No. Not in the 75.
Wasn't Flame Tongue great then?
Not in that format, no.
All right, I believe you. Again, way before my time. Quick update on a couple things. Grand Prix Richmond, as far as pre-reg is concerned, 2,100.
We're gonna hit the record this weekend. I can feel
We
it.
need 128 more people to pre-reg this weekend, and we break it. So do it, people. Do it, people.
We're so close.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here. I've got Zan's in front of me, excuse me. We're going to take a look at a Stormbreath Dragon, 2 Anger of the Gods, a Burning Earth, an Assemble the Legion, 2 Mysium Mortars, a Boros Charm, 2 Wear and Tear, a Pithy Needle, 3 Shock, and a Chain to the Rock. Give me that 4 Chain to the Rocks for sure. Shock, not so much. Needle, not so much. Neither with Wear, Tear, or Boros Charm. Mortars, actively bad against the 5 Toughness deck. Assemble the Legion, not so much. Burning Earth, actually good, but I don't know if it's good for how this matchup plays out.
Oh, I feel like Burning Earth is going to be pretty sweet. I mean, Justin's got a lot of expensive stuff in his deck, and he needs to actually be deploying 4 and 5s and using Monstrosity on his creatures. He has a lot of need for mana, and so one Burning Earth seems like low cost and potentially a huge upside.
And then the Singleton Stormbreath Dragon, I actually kind of like here. It's just a way to go to the air as as Jund Monsters is pretty weak to the Air Assault.
On Justin's side of the table, you have a Sire of Insanity, 2 Abrupt Decays, 3 Golgari Charms, 3 copies of Ultimate Price, Rorik Thar, Xenaghost, 2 copies of Rakdos Return, and 2 Dreadbores. Give me as much removal as you can give me. Kind of almost doesn't matter what it kills. Trading 1 for 1 against Devotion style decks is very important, as they have, a lot of setup for 1 payout. And so even something like Golgari Charm, which is fairly narrow in scope, even trading 1 for 1 against things like Chain of the Rocks and Legion Initiative is pretty good. And of course, the additional creature removal is very good as well.
Abrupt Decay is a delight in this matchup. Being able to kill their early Devotion creatures, be it Frostmourne, be it Ash Zealot. Boros Reckoner is an annoyance and a problem, being able to kill that. But the big one, obviously, is hooking on the Chain to the Rocks.
Yeah.
You get them real good. They take out your big creature. They feel like it's safe to attack. Abrupt Decay makes that an absolute train wreck, and there's truthfully nothing they can really do about it outside of hoping you don't have it.
Yeah, it's a big swing in the damage race. So all the removal is good here.
Yeah, that's the card I found in this matchup to be the most important in the few matches I've played against Red White Devotion online. The other big thing too is just getting out in front of them and just containing their devotion. As you mentioned, any way to do so. Make it so those fanatics are small. Make it so that Perforos is not active. Do what you got to do to make sure that that's the case. And, fortunately for Uppal, there's only one Nykthos in this particular version of the deck, so you don't have to really be too scared of some sort of chaotic Nykthos, draw involving Nykthos, excuse me.
Yeah, he's trying to play a little more of a normalized game, and I do like Legion's initiative in the face of Supreme Verdict being all over the format.
Mm-hmm.
It gives a lot of the devotion draws that just really struggle to beat Supreme Verdict game 1. It's just a challenge, and Legion's initiative gives you a really good out to that.
Quick update for you guys on the 3-6 match. It's going to be our backup match, hoping we do have time to get there. Nicholas Arstead is down a game to Chris Sanchez. Chris Sanchez playing Naya Hexproof, of course. Playing against Orzhov midrange right now. He was on the draw. He was able to break serve. And, of course, if you guys want to find out more about Chris's deck list, you can go to our coverage page. Both the deck techs have been uploaded there for you guys to take a look at. Chris Sanchez with Naya Hexproof. We also had Tom Ross and his Jun deck as well.
Yeah. Naya Hexproof, sort of a breakout deck of this tournament. We've seen it kind of lingering around Magic Online for a little while now, but we've seen a lot of it on camera and a copy in the top 8. So people who felt maybe going to this weekend you could get away from Devour Flesh, the Naya Hexproof deck is really punishing you for that decision.
Yeah. So Uppal was able to win game 1 with a mulligan to 6, which was very impressive stuff. We'll see if he's able to get this next one so he can move on to tomorrow, or if Zan is able to steal game 2 and end game 3. And maybe we'll see him tomorrow. The winner of this match, of course, does play against the winner of David Jones playing Mono Red Aggro versus David Vo playing Esper, a rematch of an earlier match where Mono Red Aggro, as you so eloquently put it, ran him out of the gym.
Yeah. Was too fast, too furious.
Now that's even a better one. I like that.
Justin's had quite the weekend so far. 9-0 through the first 9 Swiss rounds.
Ripped right through it.
First overall seed.
Yeah. He ripped right through this bad boy.
Telling me that, he anticipated this being his last tournament for a while as he wanted to focus on his studies, and obviously just when you thought you were out, you get pulled right back in.
Here's one of the unwritten rules of Magic. When you actually believe it's going to be your last tournament, I promise you it won't be. Because you will win your last tournament, and then you're hooked right back in. My last tournament was supposed to be Pro Tour Kyoto. It was definitely going to be my last Pro Tour. Hooked me. I've been back ever since.
Yep.
And I meant it, too, when I said I didn't even test for the tournament. I was like, this is it. It's cool that I won, and I have to go because I beat one of my best friends from Ohio in the finals of the PTQ, one of the people I actually drove up with, and I've known since I was like 16.
Yeah.
I'm in the finals, and I'm not going to be that guy and not go, so I'm going to go, but, I'm focusing on school and other stuff and kind of sick of Magic right now and, did well and, hooked. Went to the Chicago Grand Prix the next weekend and didn't miss a tournament, for the rest of the year.
Another decade of my life now.
Yeah. And here I am in the booth calling matches. Yeah, really nice job at quitting, I must say.
And here I am sitting with you.
That's right. Calling the finest Magic the Gathering I possibly can. Those were the days.
Looks like we're ready to go.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too.
Good. So again, Zan will be on the play this game as Uppal was able to take the first one. Zan takes a look at his hand. He's got Lisa Boros right now. The question, of course, is how many lands does he have? The answer apparently is not very many. So he's going to go down to 6. Mr. Uppal, how do you feel? Looks like he's going to keep this go around. You ever have a Magic tournament you were supposed to, call it quits?
Well, the Star City Open that I won that sort of re-energized my my interest in Magic, I wasn't even going to play in. I showed up with the intent of just hanging around the tournament site and maybe doing commentary, but then it sounded like they had too many people in the booth already. This was back when Star City's coverage was a little less organized and people sort of hopped in and out of the booth.
Sure.
So they sort of made it sound like, round 5 rolls around. Round 5 rolls around, we might have room for you in the booth or whatever. So I said, okay, well, I'll brew up a red deck out of my backpack and I'll play for some rounds. And then I won that tournament. And then I've been back ever since.
Quick update for you guys, our 4 versus 5 match. The winner of this match is playing against David Vo, playing Esper. Defeats David Jones and his Mono Red Aggro deck.
A great run for David, really reinvigorating Mono Red a little bit. His play on camera was suitably aggressive.
I would expect nothing less.
There was I would use the word aggressive as I had to describe many features of his deck play and decision making over the course of the weekend. It was a real treat to watch.
Just get in there. It's one way.
Yep. Justin, Uppal and David Jones sat down. Round 9, both players 8-0. Uppal assuming that the intentional draw would just be there, and David Jones just said, nope, came to play. Justin defeated him in 7 minutes from what I saw, and then David wisely took the draw in round 10, I believe.
Yeah, fair enough. Got to get the job done.
Yeah.
So doesn't want to play in the elimination rounds after all. So very good.
The jump in money gets pretty significant from 8th to 9th is a pretty big jump, so I like that decision.
Temple of Triumph to begin things here for Syed. He's going to leave the card on top, and Uppal will take his turn. You see an Ashcell and a Boros Reckoner over there for Syed, so pretty good hand. Assuming he has the necessary lands to cast those spells. We've got a Bernardo Fonseca, our 7th seed, playing Mono Black Devotion against Ryan Steiner, our 2 seed. They're going to game number 3 here. So when we find out more about that, we'll let you guys know. And Ashcell says, let's do this. In for 2. Uppal goes down to 18. And Justin with just a Temple of Abandon to start things off. Let's see if he's got a 2-drop this go around.
I'm a little curious to see Ashcell in the post board here, although it's not clear how many cards Zanzai really has to bring in. Against Sylvan Caryatid decks, and you see it right here, Ashcell, it's just not at its best. It's a little bit different if you're very Nykthos heavy, and so it's part of setting up, you know, your big turn or whatever. But Zan's playing, like I've said before, a more normal game.
I will say this, because overall, in most cases, I would agree with you. However, just in this case, because he has access to 4 Legions Initiative,
It does change it a little bit.
yeah, it changes it a little bit. Makes the card much better. You see Burning Tremissary is going to allow Syed to cast Hammer Perforce as well, so he's off to a really, really nice start. All the creatures having haste moving forward.
Solid mulligan.
Yes.
And you see the leftovers in his hand, too.
They are a delight.
Boros Reckoner and Fanatic of Mogus.
There's a Mizium Mortars. Does Uppal have another land? It looks like he got a Temple of Malice. You see Courser revealing Mizium Mortars. There is Temple of Malice.
Courser also well suited for the job of blocking.
Yes. Syed, time to take a draw. See what he finds. It's a Burning Tremissary. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not good this turn as he can't, again, funnel red-gray mana to cast Boros Reckoner, but if he draws a 4th land, then it gives him an even more explosive Fanatic of Mogus.
These are getting a little interesting now. Boy. That Boros Reckoner just having haste is impressive enough.
Yeah.
And there is the Reckoner. And, yep, there's the attack. In for 3, gonna put Uppal down to 12. Of course, no profitable blocks to be made.
And as kind of mopey as Zan's board says here, we're on the brink of seeing a lot of damage come across.
If a 4th land comes rolling off the top, this game is basically over. There's a land. Uppal's gonna go up to 13. There's a Dreadbore. That's not a bad draw. Next turn.
If there is a next turn.
Yeah, that's the big question. There's a Reaper of the Wilds. Shields are down.
Yeah, this is a
Basically.
4th land. I believe this is a lethal attack coming across.
Syed draws a card. What's he find? It's an Ash Zealot. All right. See how this affects things.
And now this is the problem kind of in the other direction is Zan is aware of Mizium Mortars.
Mm-hmm.
So the threat of overload is definitely there next turn.
Yeah. See, if he were to cast Burning Tremissary and Ash Zealot, attack with everything, I think you're almost forced to put Reaper of the Wilds in front of Boros Reckoner. You obviously block something with Courser, and you block something with Caryatid. You potentially take 4 from the Reaper, go down to 9, and then 4 more points come through and go down to 5.
Or you can just, with Dreadbore on top of the deck, you can just let Boros Reckoner through, gobble up some of the little stuff,
Yeah.
and then Dreadbore the following turn.
All right, Reckoner. Yeah, he's going to block with Reaper immediately. I like this block, too. Puts the onus on Zan. Where do you want to deal the damage?
Mm-hmm. And Uppal is up so much in terms of cards, you know, because of this Mizium Mortars that's looming, that he's kind of happy just trading however just to keep his life total high.
Yep. At this point, he can't take any extra damage, and I'm sure he knows that. Either way, he's going to get a scry. He's going to take down the Courser. That's a little bit surprising. Courser is providing a nice advantage in this game.
Yeah, well, Zan might be at a spot where he's just has close to exactly lethal. He might not be able to afford Justin gaining life at this point. Because he's not going to overwhelm him if he wins this game. It's most likely going to be just exactly enough damage.
Uppal resolves, excuse me. Looks like both Scry triggers from the Reaper, and he wants to leave Dreadbore on top.
Totally reasonable stance.
Trying to figure out how important Dreadbore is to this game, I guess. That's the question. Versus maybe a fifth land which provides the 6th mana for Mizium Mortars.
Given the spot that they're in, it feels, like Dreadbore has to be better than the average draw, especially with additional scrying coming because the Reaper's still in play.
It looks like Zan's going to deploy Ash's Zealot here. Yep. I just passed the turn back here, so let's see if Uppal has that next mana. He's going to draw the Dreadbore, of course. So I think if he has the mana, he just has to... Yeah, he's going to take 2. I think he just has to take the opportunity to cast this with Overload. Yeah, so that's exactly what he's going to do. Mortars with Overload. It's going to clear up everything. There's going to be a bunch of Scry triggers, 3 of them. Take a look. 1 to the bottom. Next one. Keep it on top. The big question is, do you attack with Reaper of the Wilds? And he does not.
I like it it's a conservative play, a play that a lot of players wouldn't make, but Justin is aware of, if he loses this game, what's involved, and it's getting too aggressive and taking a boatload of damage that he doesn't have to take.
Land number 4 was the draw. Here comes Burning Emissary plus Fanatic. I presume. You count the devotion for this. This is going to be a 5-point hit. Uppal's going to go down to 6. Both of those creatures have haste. The question is, do they want to get into the red zone?
I mean, with Dreadbore still in Uppal's hand, Alpha Strike here seems pretty rough to me. But he might not have a choice. I mean, he might have to play for a pretty short game here.
The other question, too, right now is, what did Uppal keep on top of his deck with that Scry from Reaper of the Wilds?
Yeah.
And here he comes. He sees hands already like, yep, I know my Fanatic's going to die. I got to get these 2 points across. Uppal takes a look. That card's going to go to the bottom now. Things have obviously changed.
Yeah.
Uppal untaps. He's going to take a draw. Golgari Charm. Actually a pretty good draw.
Oh, yeah.
Because Hammer is providing a real problem right now. Overgrown Tomb going to come in and play tapped. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get this thing off the table right away.
Oh, this seems like a really good spot.
Yeah. Yep, so get that thing off the table.
Yes, Hammer Perforos, you are randomly an enchantment.
Yeah. Uppal just going to pass the turn back again. It leads me to believe he's holding something up. Dangerous to play more turns. I think that's the thing that scares me the most. Is playing more turns against this deck is always just terrifying because they have Dragon, potential to draw a card like Boros Charm, Perforos, things like that.
Yeah, my understanding is from 4 mana, Zan actually has no draws in his deck that just kill Justin from here. But in a general sense, he still needs to be kind of getting a move on here.
Well, there's one Boros Charm in Zan's sideboard. Now, I'm not saying he boarded it in.
Sure.
You know, there is a way for him to do it. It's not a great way. Is there a Stormbreath Dragon? And now he's going to come across here for 9. Burning Emissary might be on blocking duty, as we do have a quick update here for you guys. Nicholas Arstead does defeat Chris Sanchez 2-1, so now hexproof. It's been a fun run, but your day has come to an end. So we'll see Orzhov mid-range move across. Burning Emissary got flattened by the Reaper. Scry Trigger did resolve, of course, from the Reaper. Let's see what Syed has to follow up with here. There's a Mizium Mortars, take down the Dragon. Uppal going to Scry again, leaves that card on top. Follow-up play is Nash out.
Ooh,
down to 2.
Close.
Yep. Uppal trying to shorten the game. Does have Pulachronos in his hand. This looks like it might be a Courser. It is. Time to go land hunting. Didn't find one. There's a Dreadbore. Follow-up. There's a Dreadbore on Ash's Zealot. Attack for 4. A little surprised not to see him playing Pulachronos.
I mean, this cuts off Fanatic of Mogus as a kill.
True. Take a draw.
Although it is dangerous to let the game go on for 2 more turns.
Yeah.
But
That's a Boros Ragnar. Oh, there's Dreadbore on top. Never mind. He's okay.
Justin's got it covered.
Yep. Take a look at Stormbreath Dragon. Hello. There's
How do you
Dreadbore.
do?
Yep, get that thing out of here. Force Reckoner's a terrifying card to play against. The attacks, I think, are pretty safe here. You come in for 6, you put him down to 2. And there is Bulacranos.
See if he has the Boros charm.
Yeah, that's the draw. Here's the top card of the deck. That's Legion Initiative, and that is it. Justin Uppal is moving on to tomorrow
That was a
morning.
close
yeah,
one.
and a very, very close game there between him and Zain Syed. But at the end of the day, Jund Monsters gets it done. He's playing against Esper tomorrow morning.
A great match there.
Yeah.
Yeah.